What's going on, everybody? Anybody hear me? What's going on? Good afternoon, everyone. Just let me know if you hear me fine and if my video's good. I see myself. What's up, guys? What's up? Anybody can hear me? Let me know if you can hear me. What's going on, everybody? Anybody hear me? What's going on? Good afternoon, everyone. Just let me know if you hear me fine and if my video's good. I see myself. All right, guys. Just wanted to get on here, try to give you guys any kind of help I can give you guys. I'm still working kinks out with this slate today, man. It's gonna be a real tough one. I have two on the screen here that I definitely do like for sure in my lineups. I made three entries, and I like Courtney Williams and Alyssa Thomas. Just checking. I was checking in other news just to be sure that there was no what's up, guys? What's up? Injury reports. And didn't see any injury reports, so I guess everything is good to go as far as the players that are available to play today. Anybody can hear me? Let me know if you can hear me. What's going on? Thank you, Brandon. Thank you, Brian, letting me know. The feed is good. Okay, good. So I mean, guys, you know, we got a 2-game slate. As I said in the video earlier, man, you know, this is going to be a tough one, man, to be totally honest with you. Looking at it and looking at some stats earlier, and I think there's going to be two areas. I think two areas everybody should focus on. I know I am, is obviously the front court of Connecticut and Atlanta is going to be a pretty interesting matchup, you know, and I'm just going to go right to it. Just we got McCautry, get on here. Alyssa Thomas, Gumake, Breland, Williams, Jonquel Jones, Morgan Tuck. I mean, this is going to be tough, man. I mean, and then not only that, these prices are so out of. A lot of these girls are way overpriced, but unfortunately, you have to work out a lineup somehow. And as you see on my screen here, I really like Williams and Thomas in these matchups at Atlanta. I think this is going to be the more competitive game, even though the last lines I had were 8 last night, but as of right now, it's 7.5 point favorite for Connecticut. Thank you, Brandon. Thank you, Brian, letting me know. The feed is good. Okay, good. So I mean, guys, you know, we got a 2-game slate. As I said in the video earlier, man, you know, this is going to be a tough one, man, to be totally honest with you. Looking at it and looking at some stats earlier, and I think there's going to be two areas. I think two areas everybody should focus on. I know I am, is obviously, the front court of Connecticut and Atlanta is going to be a pretty interesting matchup. I'm just going to go right to it. We got McCautry, Alyssa Thomas, McKay, Breland, Williams, John Paul Jones, Morgan Tuck. I mean, this is going to be tough, man. I mean, and not only that, these prices are so out of. A lot of these girls are way overpriced, but unfortunately, you have to work out a lineup somehow. And as you see on my screen here, I really like Williams and Thomas in these matchups at Atlanta. I think this is going to be the more competitive game, even though the last lines I had were 8 last night, but as of right now, 7.5 point favorite for Connecticut. Yeah, I see, Brandon. You managed to get Charles, Cambridge, and Diggins Smith. Wow, that's pretty good. Obviously, you're gonna have to fit in those 3 girls. You're definitely gonna have to take obviously some chances. When I look at the guards, once again today, I think the New York guards, man, they may be a surprise 1 or 2 guards there today against Dallas. And I am right now leaning towards Zealous and possibly maybe Sugar Rogers, somebody there. I mean, considering that game may be a possible. Now remember, that game is Dallas favored by 10. I have last 10. It's going to be a tough go for New York against Dallas, because Dallas is 4-1 in their last 5 games. They've been playing really well. Well, I see Brandon. I see Brandon Silvers. Yeah, I see that question you're asking. Why did jack the prices way up? Well, I mean, they do that sometimes, especially on a 2-game slate, especially a competitive game, a game that should be a little more competitive than what Vegas has the lines on. But I've seen it happen time and time again. In any of the sports, they always. Brandon, you managed to get Charles, Cambridge, and Diggins Smith. Wow, that's pretty good. Obviously, you're gonna have to fit in those 3 girls. You're definitely gonna have to take obviously some chances. When I look at the guards, once again today, I think the New York guards, man, they may be a surprise 1 or 2 guards there today against Dallas. And I am right now leaning towards Zealous. And possibly maybe with Sugar Rogers, somebody there. I mean, considering that game may be a possible. Now remember, that game is Dallas favored by 10. I have last 10. It's going to be a tough go for New York against Dallas, because Dallas is 4-1 in their last 5 games. They've been playing really well. I see Brandon. I see Brandon Silvers. Yeah, I see that question you're asking. Why did jack the prices way up? Well, I mean, they do that sometimes, especially in a 2-game slate, especially a competitive game, a game that should be a little more competitive than what Vegas has the lines on. But I've seen it happen time and time again. In any of the sports, they always. Crazy. Yeah, you got Stricken, Rogers, Tuck, and Stafford with the other three. Not bad with Charles, Cambage, and Diggins Smith. Yeah, I mean, you got to listen. Unfortunately, you have to take a shot with a couple of low value plays here. You're definitely gonna have to take some shots, especially in the New York Dallas game, simply because New York is underdog by 10, and there's the possibility of a possible blowout. So that's why I'm leaning more towards New York guards as something like Zealous and possibly Sugar Rogers. You can even think of Kia Nurse as a possible value play there. And then, of course, for the Atlanta Connecticut game, if you want to go with some value, yeah, maybe Miss Strickland would be not a bad play, or Clarendon, that whole revenge narrative thing, if you want to consider it, going to play against her former team. Same thing with Bentley. But Bentley's priced too high. She's not putting in enough. She's not generating enough points for me as far as since she's been traded to Atlanta for me to actually consider her here. I do like Brittany Sykes for today. I think out of the Atlanta girls, I like her the best, other than Tiffany Hayes. But Tiffany Hayes, 7,400. And if you're not going to go with Diggins Smith, I definitely would think you should go with Tiffany Hayes. If you're going to pay up for one of the guards here today, is either Smith or is going to be Hayes. I like Courtney Williams. She is pricey, but she's tops on the team in a number of categories: scoring, rebounding, assists. I mean, she's doing pretty well in almost every category for Connecticut. And Atlanta, even though Atlanta and Connecticut are both two teams that are fairly good defending against guards, I mean, something's got to give. Same thing up front. Both teams are there near the. What I got them near the bottom. I mean, Connecticut is 11th, and Atlanta is 8th. So obviously, you definitely should favor at least two front court players, one from Atlanta, one from Connecticut, if you want to go that route. I think that's definitely one way to go. Brandon, no updates that I know of on let's see. I haven't seen anything. I mean, it's always been with a game time decision with Teresa. I don't know what's going to happen with her. So yeah. So I would say she's not playing. I do like Brittany Sykes for today. I think out of the Atlanta girls, I like her the best, other than Tiffany Hayes. But Tiffany Hayes, 7,400. And if you're not going to go with Diggins Smith, I definitely think you should go with Tiffany Hayes. I think Rachel Banham is definitely someone who could be a very sneaky play today as well for Connecticut. She's been getting. I was looking at her numbers a little bit more. She's been getting some good minutes, man. 18 to as much as 28 minutes over the last 7 games, not counting this game against Phoenix. And the one against Vegas where she played 21 minutes, only put up 4 fantasy points. But yeah, she could be someone that could be a very sneaky play here today. Especially that Atlanta doesn't defend the threes that well. And she's one of the girls that could hit the three-pointer for Connecticut. Connecticut is actually a better three-point shooting team than Atlanta. So Atlanta really doesn't have good three-point shooting players. I'm looking at Atlanta. Let's see. Opponents versus threes. Yeah, Connecticut's in the middle of the pack, and Atlanta's been giving up 33% to opponents' three-point shooting, where they're only putting in about 28.5. So we know New York is not a great three-point shooting team. So an area to target there that I think you guys should consider is Connecticut as far as threes, and I do like the factors of targeting Connecticut and Atlanta both up front, because they both give up massive amount of points. Even though I think as of late, what I have here, Connecticut has Atlanta actually in the last 5 games has improved up front defending against the forwards and centers. So definitely something to consider there. But I still like Connecticut up front in the matchup. Even though Atlanta has done well over the last 5 games. They've gone from 50.5 points per game given up to forwards and centers to only 40.5, so a whole 10 points better. And I knew that was going to get better as Alyssa Thomas started getting back in the game, started playing. Yeah, she could be someone that could be a very sneaky play in today. Especially that Atlanta doesn't defend the threes that well. She's one of the girls that could hit the three-pointer for Connecticut. I say my favorite plays, just to lay them out there. Definitely like, as you can see, the 2 girls on the screen. kind of like a little bit Elizabeth Williams too against Connecticut. I mean, it's going to be really tough for Connecticut to handle not only Elizabeth Williams at the center spot, but also Breland and Angel McCoughtry. Like I said in the video earlier, McCoughtry, I'm kind of fading on McCoughtry. I like Alyssa Thomas better in this matchup, but I also like Breland and Williams as well. And definitely Azura Stevens is definitely someone. As a matter of fact, I'll just pencil in here right now. I love the way Miss Stevens has been playing. So I think she is someone that everybody should try to stick in their lineup. Another thing to also point out to you guys is that I also believe that Atlanta-Connecticut game is a good game to target as a game stack. So if you're making multiple lineups, I definitely believe you should definitely do at least 1 or 2 lineups strictly with about 5 players. If you can get 6 out of it, I think you could get 6 out of that game. But if you can get 5 solid plays out of the Atlanta-Connecticut as a game stack, I think that would be a nice option for you guys as well today. And then getting the remaining 2 players from the New York-Dallas game. Not too in favor of New York-Dallas game being a stack, but the Atlanta-Connecticut game I think is going to be a little bit more competitive than what Vegas has it. They have Vegas dropped it down from 8 to 7.5 overnight. So Atlanta, I think Atlanta is going to be a close game. Not only that, Atlanta has been really, really well. They've won 4 straight games, so they've basically playing very, very well.
Just to lay them out there. Definitely, like as you can see, the 2 girls on the screen. Kind of like a little bit Elizabeth Williams.
Yeah, but going in after seeing everything that I needed to see, I still kind of like a few girls. These 3 here, I think, are the best possible players. I think Thomas and Courtney Williams are pretty solid today, at least in my opinion, and Miss Stevens for Dallas. I do favor the Dallas front court against New York, so I would probably target another Dallas forward here. If you could squeeze in Cam Page with Azura Stevens as a team front court stack, I think that will work. You could even throw in there, if you're not going to go with Stevens or not with Cam Page, maybe you can go with Kayla Thornton. Kayla Thornton plays about 24 minutes a game for this team, so she is definitely a strong part of the rotation.
If you can get 6 out of it, I think you could get 6 out of that game. If you get 5 solid plays out of the Atlanta-Connecticut as a game stack, I think that would be a nice option for you guys as well today.
I would fade Diggins Smith as well. I'm actually going to have Diggins Smith in one of my lineups because, she is just playing lights out. You just got to, take a dive on her. And not only that, she's playing against New York, and she already has lit up New York before. So I like her in one lineup, but I wouldn't make her a core. I think core plays, I think, the 2 I mentioned here at first, Williams and Thomas, I think they'll be 2 of my main core players in this slate, and I do like Azura Stevens. When you go to the guards, other than Courtney Williams, I think one of my favorite other plays, I really like Brittany Sykes. For whatever reason, I just feel that she's going to probably have a good game here and keep this game fairly close with her play. She gets good minutes. Matter of fact, let me just punch her in over here. Let's look at her here. Let me look at her here. Brittany Sykes. Come on, Brittany. Yeah, man, 25 and 27 in the last 2 games. I mean, the usage rate has been good. So she's she's a very good part of the offense there. And she has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 out of our last 7 games, at least 20 plus. And 3 out of those games she smashed value. So, and the points are good, 17, 14, 13. She's getting sufficient shots. She's shooting the 3 fairly well. She's one of the better 3-point shooters for them. What we have here for her? Yeah, Sykes is shooting 46% from the floor, and she's shooting 30% from 3. Not too shabby. She shoots better from the floor than the 3, but she could be someone to consider there. Williams and Thomas, I think those will be 2 of my main core players in this slate. And I do like Azura Stevens. When you go to the guards, other than Courtney Williams, I think one of my favorite other plays, I really like Brittany Sykes for whatever reason. I just feel that she's going to probably have a good game here and keep this game. Yeah, I like Sykes. She gets good minutes. Montgomery, Brandon Montgomery, yeah, I mean, I had her in play the last time. She, man, it's so tough today, man. It really is. It really is tough. I mean, 15 and 24, put a 40 spot against Washington. Then she's just shit the bed the last 2 games. I just don't know. 38, but she's in play. I would say she's in play in today's slate simply because she plays more than enough minutes, and she shoots 37% from 3. And I have her here also. She's about 39% from the floor, so nearly 40%. So it'll be someone to consider there as well.
She's getting sufficient shots. She's shooting the 3 fairly well. She's one of the better 3-point shooters for them. What do we have here for her?
As far as New York, yeah, I mean, remember there is that possibility of a blowout, and these are the girls, the ones that I'm looking at, possibly for a blowout situation. As far as New York is concerned, definitely Amanda Zui B and Stokes will be 2 girls you can consider there, especially if this game gets out of hand. I like those girls more there. And if you really are betting that Dallas is going to just blow the hell out of New York, then Sugar Rogers as far as guard, and I believe possibly some more time for Kia Nurse and Zui B as well as Stokes up front could be a possibility. And for Dallas, obviously Kayla Davis will step up more if they're blowing out New York. Maybe Romero will get some more time, and I would think at the forward spot and on the front court you can consider Aerial Powers as well as Kayla George. So those are options there. But Stokes, Kia Vaughn is not to me is not a bad play to stick right in the lineup. She's getting sufficient minutes. And I have her, let's see what we have for her. Kia Vaughn is shooting 53% from the floor when she takes her shots. So she's the best percentage shooter on the New York team. And she's also, as far as rebounding, she's the second leading rebounder on the team behind Charles. Charles is averaging about 7.5, and Vaughn is averaging 4.5. But the tough thing is the Dallas up front, very, very tough matchup there. I mean, when you look at Thornton, Cam Page, and Azura Stevens, and you also have Gloria Johnson to deal with. That's quite a bit for New York. So that's the one thing that fears me. I think that this game, the blowout gets out of hand with Diggins Smith shooting the ball well, and this front court just totally dominating the front over New York. If they do that, then this game is going to be over early. And if you want value plays, like I said, I think Kayla George, Stokes for New York, and possibly some of the guards from New York will be probably a good play, like Sugar Rogers or even a Kia Nurse. And then for Dallas, I would say Kayla Davis will probably get more action, especially if this game gets out of hand. So I'm leaning more towards that. Again, the best game is Atlanta and Connecticut.
She's getting sufficient minutes.
Money Cash Dollars. I like Billings better. I like Billings better.
When she takes her shots, so she's the best.
Let me go and take a look at her.
Shooter on the New York team, and she's also
the wrong game.
Rebounding, she's the second leading rebounder on the team behind Charles. Charles is averaging about 7.5, and Vaughn is averaging.
Billings, yeah. Billings is not bad. Stafford, McGee Stafford is only 35. Is only 35. She's only $300 more expensive. I think she's actually been having more of an integral part on this team coming off the bench than Billings. But I think you're okay with either one of the two, depending on if you want to save $300 and you want to use that $300 to give yourself more of a stud play in the guard position or up front with one of the stud forwards. Then yeah, but 15-9 over, she's averaging about 12.5 minutes in the last 2 games, and she's put up more than 1 fantasy point per minute, so not too bad. And then when she has played some minutes, like she did here against Indiana and Minnesota, you can see 22 and 22, more than 1 fantasy point per minute on both of those games. So she has potential to be pretty dangerous. And not only that, if she can get that 20 minutes, that's a sure bet she's going to put probably 1 fantasy point per minute. Let's see over here.
Again, the best game is Atlanta Connecticut.
Billings. Yeah, they got at .68.
Money Cash Dollars. I like Billings.
Fantasy points per minute. Yeah, Stafford is a little bit higher at .85. So at fantasy points per minute, she's definitely averaging a little bit higher in fantasy points per minute. So yeah, maybe the better play is Amani McGee Stafford. Amani McGee Stafford will probably be the better play. So Billings or Stafford. I have Billings on one of my lineups already, but I may have to double check that after I get off here with you guys.
Stafford, McGee Stafford is only 35. Is only 35. She's only $300 more expensive. I think she's actually been having more of an integral part on this team coming off the bench than Billings.
Yeah, I like those two girls as a value play. I see that Devin is asking the same question. Monique Billings or Stafford are a go? Yeah, I believe so. I believe so, especially that we know one game is a possible blowout. You know, so you could definitely target these girls here in this Atlanta Connecticut game. Like I said, this is the more competitive game, so maybe you might want to do, like I said before, a game stack. Take 5 girls, maybe even 6 out of this game, and then if you're playing multiple lineups, that's only if. Remember, guys, I'm mostly a GPP player, so I'm willing to take risks. Not everybody's willing to do that. If you're looking for a cash play, this is going to be tough to get cash plays here today in this slate, but definitely GPP opportunities, they are here. Yeah, because especially if this game, Dallas and New York, gets out of control, you know, like I said, girls like Kia Vaughn, Stokes for New York, Kayla George, you know, and of course the guards for New York, like Sugar Rogers, Kier Nurse may get some more time, Kayla Davis for Dallas, if the game gets out of control. So there is some value that you can get out of it. But of course, it's a GPP play. You're gonna have to take, you know, you're basically taking a risk.
I may have to double check that after I get off here with you guys.
What do you guys feel about Elizabeth Williams and Jessica Breland?
Yeah, I like those two girls as a value play. I see that Devin is asking the same question. Monique Billings for Stafford or a go? Yeah, I believe so. I believe so, especially that we know one game is a possible blowout. You know, so you could definitely target these girls here in this Atlanta Connecticut game. Like I said, this is the more competitive game. So maybe you might want to do, like I said before, game stack. Take 5 girls, maybe even 6 out of this game, and then if you're playing multiple lineups, that's only if. I remember, guys, I'm mostly a GPP player, so I'm willing to take risks. Not everybody's willing to do that. If you're looking for a cash play, this is going to be tough to get cash plays here today in this slate, but definitely GPP opportunities, they are here. Yeah, especially if this game, Dallas and New York, gets out of control. You know, like I said, girls like Kia Vaughn, Stokes for New York, Kayla George, you know, and of course the guards for New York, like Sugar Rogers, Kier Nurse may get some more time, Kayla Davis for Dallas if the game gets out of control. So there is some value that you can get out of it, but of course it's a GPP play. You're gonna have to take, you know, you're basically taking the risk.
Couple of things here to take note of. I mean, field goals made. Dallas is averaging 30 a game, and opponents are averaging 28. So they're getting a couple more field goals per game. Another thing also to point out here, Dallas is rebounding nearly 37 rebounds per game, and their opponents have been averaging 32. So they are pretty much out-rebounding their opponents by 5 per game as we speak. And another thing to point out here is the opponents, unfortunately, against Dallas. A negative aspect is that their opponents are averaging 69 attempts per game to their 67 attempts as far as field goals are concerned. But considering that they make more than what than their opponents do, I kind of favor that. So definitely those. So what that means is you should target girls like Diggin Smith, Cam Beach, Azura Stevens, the girls that have been getting a lot of touches and have been very effective with their field goal percentages. Like, for instance, Cam Beach is shooting 57% from the floor, Thornton 45, Stevens 43, and Smith 43. So those are the girls to target. And then, of course, with them having a respectable front court against New York, you definitely will like Cam Beach there as well, because she's one of the top rebounders. She's 9 rebounds per game for her team. Miss Glory Johnson is at 6, Thornton is at 4.5, and Stevens at 4.
Couple things here to take note of. I mean, field goal.
What I like also is
Field goals,
the minutes.
made-
Smith 34, Cambage 28, Thornton 28, Gray 25, and Glory Johnson 21 minutes per game. So those are the girls you definitely want to also consider in Dallas because of that.
Dallas is rebounding nearly 37 rebounds per game, and their opponents have been averaging 32. So they're pretty much out-rebounding their opponents by 5 per game as we speak. And another
When
thing to point out here is the opponents, unfortunately, against Dallas. A negative aspect is that their opponents are averaging 69 attempts per game to their 67 attempts as far as field goals are concerned. But considering that they make more than what they than their opponents.
What I like about the Atlanta Connecticut game is both teams are good field goal percentage shooting teams. Connecticut has Ogumake 60%, Tuck 48%, Jonquel Jones 48.3%, Courtney Williams 46%, and Alyssa Thomas at 45%. While Atlanta has Hayes at 54%, Sykes at 46%, Billings at 45%, McCourtry at 44%, Williams, Elizabeth Williams at 44%, and Montgomery at 38%. So they got at least six ladies shooting 38% or better on the floor. And then in rebounding, they're kind of comparable as well. Alyssa Thomas 9.4 rebounds a game, Ogumake 7.5, Courtney Williams 6.2, Jonquel Jones at 5, and then you got 4 top rebounders in Atlanta: Breland 8, McCourtry 6, Williams 5, and Sykes 3.5. So I mean, you could take that, and that should be able to put you in a position that yes, that I believe there's a good chance that one Connecticut player up front and one solid Atlanta player up front is going to have a nice game. Three-point shooting, Connecticut has been really well with Courtney Williams at 44%, Jonquel Jones 39%, Banham at 39%. So that looks pretty darn good there. Atlanta is not a good three-point shooting team, so that's the disadvantage there. That's where you can also target Connecticut with girls like Courtney Williams, even Jasmine Thomas. So something there to consider as well.
60%, Tuck 48%, Jonquel Jones 48.3%, Courtney Williams 46%, and Alyssa Thomas at 45%. While Atlanta has Hayes at 54%, Sykes at 46%, Billings at 45%, McCourtry at 44%, Williams, Elizabeth Williams at 44%, and Montgomery at 38%. So they got at least six ladies shooting 38% or better on their floor.
Who is your top? Who's the top forward for you guys today, man? What are you guys are leaning towards? Like I said, I like Alyssa Thomas, and I actually like Azura Stevens up front. What are you guys are thinking? Let's remember, I don't have all the answers. I'm just giving you what I think is the possible best play from statistical standpoint. I look at the matchups, I look at the players, I look at current and 4 or 5 games at least back as far as statistics, and then of course I look at history against the team in the season and sometimes maybe even further back. So some of the areas, some of the things that I do.
Shooting, Connecticut has been really well with Courtney Williams at 44%, Jonquel Jones 39%, Banham at 39%. So that looks pretty darn good there. Atlanta is not a good three-point shooting team, so that's the disadvantage there. That's where you can also target Connecticut with girls like Courtney Williams, even Jasmine Thomas.
I think the best play, guys, I'm just going to, now that we're getting closer to making these final decisions, top plays for me as far as guard, obviously I like Courtney Williams, but of course Diggins Smith is definitely a major play here today if you can get her in. On the lower end, I like Sykes. And then other than that, I kind of just been leaning towards today on Shavante Zealous, so for New York as the one big play for New York. So as far as a low end play, I mean, maybe ban him at 41. But I said if the game is out of control, then you definitely are looking at Rogers or maybe even Nurse, possibly Strickland. A lot of people will come and play at that point. Forwards, Tina Charles is obviously in play. Liz Cambage is in play. I'm fading on McCoughtry, like I said earlier in the video. I loved Alyssa Thomas in this matchup. I definitely think Breland is not a bad play, as well as Elizabeth Williams. Coming to the lower end, I definitely like Azura Stevens in this matchup because I think it's quite a bit for New York to handle. Kayla Thornton on the bottom end here, maybe Morgan Tuck. Kia Vaughn, I think, might be a nice little sneaky play at 3,900. So, and then of course the value plays here are McGee, Stafford, as well as Kayla George for Dallas, and I would say Monique Billings also for Atlanta. One of those two Atlanta players will probably get some time on the floor today and may make a difference, and that's a nice value play. And that's pretty much it for me, man, as far as where I stand, as far as what I think are the better plays.
Now that we're getting closer to making these final decisions, top plays for me as far as guard, obviously I like Courtney Williams, but of course Diggin Smith is definitely a major play here today if you can get her in. On the lower end, I like Sykes, and then other than that, I kind of just been leaning towards today on Shavonte Zealous, so for New York as the one big play for New York. So as far as a low end play, I mean, maybe ban him at 41, but I said if the game is out of control, then you definitely are looking at Rodgers or maybe Nurse, possibly Strickland. A lot of people will come and play at that point. Forwards, Tina Charles is obviously in play. Liz Cambage.
Tina Charles is up there. Top rebounder, 7 rebounds a game, pretty much on average.
I definitely think Breland is not a bad play, as well as Elizabeth Williams. Coming to the lower end, I definitely like Azura Stevens in this matchup because I think it's quite a bit for New York to handle. Kayla Thornton. On the bottom end here, maybe Morgan Tuck. Kia Vaughn, I think, might be a nice little sneaky play at 3,900. So, and then of course the value plays here are McGee, Stafford, as well as Kayla George for Dallas, and I would say Monique Billings also for Atlanta.
Yeah, Hulky, Stevens is more of a value over Cambage. I agree with you. I just Cambage is on. You know, I mean, she has 50-point upside. That's the one drawback. The only thing scary about this whole thing is not taking Cambage and fading her today will probably not be a bad idea, simply because this game could get out of hand, and she might not play more than 22, 23 minutes. So yeah, I mean, so I agree with you in that aspect that Stevens would be a better value play. Being young and the game gets out of hand, chances are she's going to stay on the court a little longer. So, but we'll see. You know, this is why the games are played. We don't know for sure. I mean, anything can happen in any given game, and then especially in a 2-game slate like this, when you have one game that the oddsmen have one game so lopsided, 10-point favorites. I mean, but New York, don't sleep on them, man. New York has had moments where they have come in and played teams very, very tough in their home court. So, you know, it's like sometimes you just don't know what you're going to get out of it. They're kind of like a Jekyll and Hyde team. Even though they are pretty bad, sometimes they look pretty good. So we'll see what happens here. I still like Dallas a lot more at home, so I'm going to go with my gut and just say, hey, you know what, let me focus on some Dallas players. But like I said, there's 1 or 2 players I do like in New York. And like I said before, I kind of like Shavonte Zelios. I think she'll be a good play. And maybe even a sneaky play Prince. I mean, who knows?
Yeah, Hulky, Stevens is more of a value over Cambage. I agree with you. I just Cambage is on. You know, I mean, she has 50-point upside.
Money, cash, dollars. I see that question. Yeah, I mean, I purchased the WNBA League Pass. I mean, it's, man, I tell you, it's dirt cheap, man. I think I think I paid like $20 or less. I don't even remember, but I know it was like $20 or less for the entire year. And what I do is I watch them on my mobile phone on the WNBA app, and I watch them on my actual desktop or on my Fire TV. I mean, not my Fire TV, my Apple TV. So you can watch it on any of those things, but I usually watch it on my desktop while I'm here in my office at home. So yeah, you know, WNBA definitely has a league pass package that is, you know, it's too darn cheap to pass up. You know, you get to see any of the games, and if you have mobile phone, obviously on a day like today when you have a matinee game, it's perfect. You know, that you have the mobile phone and you can just check up and take a look at the game on your lunch break or something like that, or while you're at work with the volume down low, so your boss don't see you. But yes, you definitely should look into the league pass. It may even be cheaper now that it's getting almost halfway through the season. I mean, it's more than halfway through the season as far as games, I think. Probably about halfway.
Shavonte Zealous. I think she'll be a good player.
Yeah, the New York game. Okay, I see Hulky putting that up. Yeah, that's correct. New York is playing. Chances are that is on MSG. I'm in New York, so I mean, I'm not a fan of the Liberty. Unfortunately, I am a New York Knicks fan, but that's for the NBA season to talk about.
I see that question. Yeah, I mean, I purchased the WNBA League Pass. I mean, man, I tell you, it's dirt cheap, man. I think I paid like $20 or less. I don't even remember, but I know it was like $20 or less for the entire year. And what I do is I watch them on my mobile phone on the WNBA app, and I watch them on my actual desktop or on my Fire TV. I mean, not my Fire TV, my Apple TV. So you can watch it on any of those things. I usually watch it on my desktop while I'm here in my office at home. So yeah, WNBA definitely has a league pass package that is,
All right, guys, man. Would love to sit here and chat even more. So I want to make a couple of changes. I got 17 minutes left until lock. So I'm gonna wrap it up here. I will. Obviously there'll be a video for the next slate, which I believe is tomorrow. So you'll get that sometime in the middle of the night or early tomorrow morning. And who knows, maybe I just might get on here again for another slate before lock video live stream, possibly tomorrow as well. So we'll see if I can squeeze it in. If I can, I will let you guys know in the next video, man. So again, if anybody out there definitely has trouble or definitely needs to get more information, have them, tell them to check out DFS Zone. There's a lot of other people out there that do the same thing, but as well. So, but I would appreciate, you guys sharing and liking, and of course subscribing if you haven't been here before. Definitely do subscribe, and I appreciate you guys, man. About 14 of you guys watching. There's been a couple guys in and out. I do appreciate you guys definitely watching, man. I really truly do. And I wish you guys luck, man, but I'm gonna wrap it up here simply because I got 15 minutes to double check my lineups here. All right, guys, have a great afternoon. Good luck today on your slates. Hopefully you guys make some money. Hey, if you guys have some success, share it here at DFS Zone, man, with the community. I'll be more than happy to give out shout outs. I usually do that for guys and